Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we are carrying on with our look at the Scourge themed decks, and we're going to look at Pulverize, which is a red and blue deck. And let's look at the deck list. So we have 19 creatures, 8 sorceries, 5 enchantments, 4 instants, 24 land, mana curve off to the side there. Weirdly nothing at mana value 4, which is strange. Yeah, let's start looking at the creatures. So we looked at max attacks last time, which had was kind of green black, had a beast tribal theme that it wasn't doing anything with really, and had a high mana value matters theme. This deck is almost identical in the fact that it has a beast theme that doesn't really do anything with, and it cares about high mana values. It's just in blue and red instead. So that's what I meant last time when I said that it's very similar. But let's judge it on its own merits, I suppose. So we have a bunch of beasts. So we have Bloodstoke Howler, 6 mana for a beast that has, I can't remember what its power and toughness is. I think it's a 4/4. I need to stop covering up power and toughness, honestly. But yeah, when it's turned face up, beasts you control get +3/+0 to turn. Morph for 7 is very, very high. Yeah, it's okay. It's expensive. Yeah, kind of underwhelming, honestly. 3 Chartooth Cougars, 6 mana for a 4/4. It has fire breathing, and it has mountain cycling for 2, which is so land cycling is this ability introduced in Scourge. I think there's a whole cycle of these like quite expensive, fairly like French vanilla creatures where you pay the land cycling cost, you cycle it away, so you pay to discard it, and you search your library for a land of the matching type and put it into hand. Doesn't have to be a basic land, just so that can matter. Obviously not in this deck, but in other formats it might have mattered. So 3 of them, which is alright because it means you can kind of hit land. Important to do in blue and red because obviously they don't have really ramp options. A single Macetail Histrodon, 4/4 first strike and haste, cycling for 3, 7 mana. Yep. Yep. Obviously fairly big beaty creature. Honestly, being like a 4/4 with first strike is actually fairly scary to deal with. I'm not sure many things could have sort of like tangled with that and kind of sort of come out ahead. Obviously, there's actually a load of big green beasts that would have been fine. Anyway, it's okay. At least it has cycling. A single Frenetic Raptor, 6 mana for a 6/6. Beasts can't block. That's all beasts. That's yours. That's opponents. So kind of like a weird. I guess if your opponent is playing beasts, well, there you go. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, at least this 6/6 for 6. I suppose it's okay. It meets the vanilla test, but obviously it's. Ability. Well, its ability isn't all drawback because it does affect all beasts, I suppose. But yeah, it's fine. One of Magic the Gathering's first raptors, I think. I think it's been Eritard to be an oracle to be a dinosaur. And then Skittish Valesque. This is just bad. 7 mana for a 5/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it gets turned face down, so you have to morph it again. And its morph is 6 mana. That's just bad. When I was getting the card image of Gather, I saw someone trying so hard to put a positive spin on it, and just like think of it as a 2/2 that can give itself +3/+3 for 6 mana. Just like I mean, that's a very silver lining way of looking at it. It's just bad. Typically, anything involving coin flips in this era of the game is not going to work out well for you. And then just a bunch of other like expensive cards. So 2 Goblin Machinist, 5 mana for a 0/5, which is obviously very expensive. 2 in a red, reveal cards from the top of your library into revert a non-land card. He gets +X +0 to land turn, where X is the card's mana value, and then revealed cards go on the bottom of your library in any order. So I used to think this card was pretty good, and then I realized like it requires so much work. Like you have a lot of high mana value cards in the deck, so there's no reason it couldn't work. Like just to swing with it and like maybe activate its ability a couple of times, you could potentially get something like +15 +0 off it, I suppose. it doesn't matter if they get, if you just get blocked by a 1/1, because doesn't have trample or anything. Yeah, I guess it's fine. I think it's kind of just kind of this wacky, cute goblin card. I don't. It might have been like the main win condition of the deck, but that makes me so sad to think that might have to be a way to win. It's really funny actually because I've not really talked about the blurbs that go with these decks. Yeah, they started off initially quite brief. It's like, oh, this deck uses these cards to win this way. Sort of around this period of the game, like the sort of like the strategy blurb that goes with the deck, like maybe on a little pamphlet or fold out, were quite in depth. And I just remember on this one, it constructs this whole narrative of like, oh, you're using this deck against your friend, and he keeps winning, just like this has immediately set this deck up not to be very good. And like even in the example, just like you attack with your Goblin Machinist and you activate its ability, and your opponent survives on one life because you didn't hit enough cards, and just like fucking hell, like even in this example, you can't make the deck sound good. But yeah, I don't know. Off a bit a bit of a tangent there. Just talk about that, but I just remembered it and I just thought it was very funny. That like even the deck insert can't hype itself up enough. Like it knows it's not a great theme to be working with. Anyway, moving on. So we have a single Aven Fate Shaper, 7 mana for a 4/5 flyer, which is very expensive. When it comes in play, you get to rearrange the top 4 cards of your library, which is like not awful, honestly. If it was just it'd be better if it was just straight up Scry 4, which I don't think would be too unbalanced if it did. Obviously has like a little bit of synergy there with Goblin Machinist that you can rearrange. And when it's hit the board, you can pay 5 to rearrange the top 4 again. So I suppose you could get in this this groove where you're just doing it kind of maybe every couple of turns just to keep rearranging. Obviously very expensive, but yeah. I mean, it's a big 4/5 flyer as well, so it can at least swing in the air. We have 2 Shoreline Rangers, 6 mana for a 3/4 flyer. It has island cycling. I would say you're pretty much always going to island cycle it, because I mean, I guess again 3/4 in the air, but 6 mana is very expensive. That's more than air elemental for worse stats. But you don't have air elemental in the deck, I suppose. So this is what you're dealing with. Yeah, it's okay. Out of all the land cyclers, I think this one's actually probably the worst. I think all the others are actually pretty good compared to this one, because they have power and toughness like that's reasonable for their cost. And then this is kind of like the sort of the surprise start of the show. Scornful Egotist. I remember like people being really confused about this card when it came out, or like just being like, "What? It's an 8 mana 1/1," and yeah, it's an 8 mana 1/1 that has more for a single blue. So obviously the whole point of this is that you play it as a morph creature, you unmorph it, and then you have an 8 mana value card on the board like quite early on, which affects like a lot of your creatures that care about mana values. You've got some spells that care about mana values. You've got like Goblin Machinist that cares about mana values. I mean, you would want to reveal this from the library, but yeah. So more of these cards, more expensive cards. So we have one of the rares here is Mischievous Quainar, which is 5 mana for a 3/3. So it can turn itself face down, and it has a morph ability. So when it's turned face up, you copy a spell. You copy an instant or sorcery spell, and then choose new targets for the copy. Yeah, it's all right, I guess. Obviously expensive to keep doing that over and over again, but you've got like some quite expensive spells in this deck, so I guess copying them to get like some extra value out of them, I suppose. Honestly, it still feels a bit weird to include this card. Doesn't feel massively like on theme, if I'm honest. But yeah, I guess it's okay. 2 Mistform War Chief, so this one the War Chiefs. There was a Cycling Scourge. 3 mana for 1/3. Creature spells you cast that share a creature type with Mistform War Chief cost 1 less to play. Unlike all the other Mistform creatures we've seen on Sort Block, their ability to change their creature type requires tapping it rather than paying just 1. It's okay. I mean, I guess you're mostly going to be using this with beasts because like most of your creatures are beasts, I suppose. But at least it has the flexibility to be something else. And then a single Thundercloud elemental, so 7 mana for a 3/4 flyer. This could have been like a 4/5 or something. Like 3/4 is such a small size. So 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer. Has 2 abilities. First one, pay 4, tap all creatures with toughness 2 or less. The other ability, pay 4, all other creatures lose flying till end of turn. Like, oh, you know what we need to stop all those early game small creatures? Something that costs 7 mana. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about Thundercloud Elemental. I'm kind of disappointed, honestly. It could have been a 4/4 at least. This could have been Air Elemental with your upside. Even just I don't know. If there's been 6 mana, 4/4 flyer, and had only one of those abilities, I think that would have been fine. But it being 7 mana actually matters in this deck because, I say, you've got the cards that care about mana value. On the subject of cards that care about mana value, so 2 erratic explosions, 3 mana, choose target creature or sorcery, reveal cards on the top of your library into you a non-land card, does damage equal to the mana value to that creature or player, and then the cards go on the bottom of your deck. So obviously, like, the dream here is to reveal Scornful Egotist and do 8 damage for only 3 mana. That's the dream. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. It's you can't rely on it, and that's the thing. You have to pick the target before you know what the mana value is going to be, which makes it a little bit of a gamble, honestly. But you say you've got so much expensive cards in the deck that you could make a calculated gamble with it, I suppose. 3 Torrent of Fire, so 5 mana sorcery, deals damage equal to the highest converted mana cost or mana value, whatever, amongst opponents you control target creature or player. Again, obviously, the dream is to do 8 damage with this. At least you have a bit more control over this because you can get something down on the board. Which requires you getting it down on the board. You need to play it first, and then hold on to this and then play it. It's fine, I guess. 3 of those. 2 Rush of Knowledge. This is actually a bit better in my opinion. So 5 mana, draw cards equal to the highest mana value amongst permanents you control. That's pretty good. At 5 mana, if you draw 3 cards with this, I think that's worth it. If you draw more than 3 cards, I think you're coming out ahead, definitely. Because Opportunity is 6 mana, although it is an instant. Opportunity is 6 mana to draw 4 cards. So if you say draw potentially 6 or 7 cards off this, that's really good. I used to run a deck with Rush of Knowledge and Tangle Golem, and you could play Tangle Golem really quickly because it had affinity for forests. And then you do Rush of Knowledge and draw 7 cards. Super good memories of Rush of Knowledge. So this is a pretty good card actually. And then 2 Dispersal Shields, 2 mana, instant counter a spell if its mana value is less than or equal to the highest mana value amongst permanents you control. Again, it's like one of these. It's like so conditional. You got to jump through hoops to get it. You need to have an expensive card down on the board. And it's it's a useless card if you have nothing or any low value stuff. I don't know. It's just very conditional. I feel like there would be games you'd have this in hand and never get a chance to really cast it or get any benefit from it. And then just closes out here with a few, honestly, kind of random cards. So 2 Carbonize. I think this is really good. It's 3 damage to a creature or player. Creatures can't be regenerated, and if the creature would die, it gets exiled instead. So it's like a mini Disintegrate. So I think that's really good for only 3 mana. And at instant speed as well, which is nice. 2 Pyrostatic Pillar, which is a 2 mana enchantment. Whenever a player plays a spell with mana value 3 or less, they take 2 damage from the pillar. So punish your opponent for playing their cheap spells, which you don't have many of those in the deck yourself. A single Slice and Dice, 6 mana that does 4 damage to every creature, and you can cycle it. And when you cycle it, it instead does 1 damage to every creature. I do like these spells that still do something when you cycle them. I think they're nice. 2 Dragon Breath. This is like part of a cycle of dragon enchantments or dragon auras, even. So, enchanted creature has haste and has fire breathing. Um, Basically, whenever you cast a creature with mana value 6 or more, if the dragon breath is in your graveyard, it goes back into play attached to that creature. It's optional, I think, actually. But yeah, that's all right. Yeah, you've got obviously a lot of expensive creatures here that can all benefit from having haste. And then Parallel Thoughts is the other rare of the deck. This is actually pretty interesting. I didn't know about this card. So 5 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for 7 cards, exile them face down in a pile, and then you shuffle that pile. And then whenever you would draw a card, you can instead draw the top card of that pile. So you essentially make like a mini library of 7 cards, which can be really good. You kind of dig out maybe 7 cards that you don't want in there anymore. Like maybe it's late game, you kind of want to get land out of the way, or maybe early in the game you'll be like, right, well, I definitely want to get these particular cards out there. It's kind of a shame that it only affects drawing. You can't use this kind of like little pile for effects that would let you like look at the top card of your library. I don't know how that would be worded rules wise, but it's a shame you can't kind of do that. Make just like this mini library of like really high value cards, and then use that for your things like for erratic explosion and the goblin machinist and stuff. But yeah, I think this is actually a pretty fun little rare, actually, being able to build a little mini library of cards that you definitely want. So what could have been? I'll be honest, I think there's a lot wrong with this deck. I don't see myself having, because I like blue and red. I really like it as a color combination. I don't know if I would have fun playing this deck. I feel like it would be the same thing as the max attacks deck that we looked at last time, where I feel like a lot of the game would just be playing a land and passing to the opponent, because like so much of your stuff is expensive, and like you haven't even got green in this to like ramp your land or mana. So yeah, I don't think it would be a great time, honestly. What could improve that? Maybe Dragon Wings. So it's another Dragon Aura enchantment. Gives the enchanted creature flying, which would be nice on some of those big beasts. It has cycling, so you can cycle it away. Then it's in your graveyard, ready to come back. Dragon Mage, I think, would have been like a really fun rare to have instead of the Quainar, maybe. Just he's a big flyer, and does Wheel of Fortune whenever he hits someone. Yeah, I just think that would have been kind of fun to have, just a big old dragon wizard. Glintwing Invoker. This was kind of reaching 5 mana for a 3/3 wizard. It's just a late, it's just a mana sink, just to turn into a big flyer. Yeah, and Temple of the False God. Really surprised that wasn't in here. Just gives you more mana. If you've got 5 or more land. So in summary, I really don't like this one at all. Like looking at it on paper, I have some concerns. Like I said, I don't think I would have had a fun time if I'd owned this deck and tried playing it. I just think it would have been too slow, like too dirtly, relying too much on like luck. And like hitting those like high mana values. It feels like like the rares in the deck don't really help that much. Like the Quainar, I guess, can copy like those big spells. Like if, I don't know, you do the Torrent of Fire and you copy it with the Quainar and potentially do like another load of damage. But like that requires so much mana. And it requires like this absolute perfect situation of like, right, well, the Torrent of Fire is going to do say 7 mana, and I needed 5 mana to cast that, and like, oh, now I need 3 to do the Quainar. I just don't know. Yeah, so not really a fan of this one, really. Yeah, I think it might be the weakest out of the Scourge themed decks. I think it might definitely be. I don't know. I was going to say it's the weakest Onslaught one, but I don't know about that. That feels like too much of a snap judgment to make without really thinking about it. But what did you think after seeing this one? After seeing the deck list and seeing what's in it? Did you own it? Did you play it? What was your experience with it? Like, if I'm wrong, please put a comment below. Tell me like if this was actually some sort of super secret tech that I don't know about. Please tell me, because it's red blue. I want to like it, but I just can't, because I think the theme like the gimmick it's trying to do is just doesn't work. But yeah, that's just what I think. Per se, always interested to hear your comments. I'm going to be back next time. I'm going to look at the last Scourge theme deck. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.